the choice there between football and pétanque, I see. It's time now for the France 24 debate, where we're going to be talking about the destruction which continues this Monday in Timbuktu. Salafist radicals who took over the Saharan town 3 months ago, breaking down the main gate of a 15th century mosque that locals believed had to stay shut till the end of the world. The imam in that northern Malian city saying he'd turned down the equivalent of $100 to repair it, telling the Reuters news agency that what they'd done was irreparable. Since Saturday, the jihadists of Ansar Dine have been systematically destroying Sufi Islam shrines and mausoleums, arguing that they're idolatrous. This after flushing out Tuareg separatists from a vast area of northern Mali that some are likening now to a kind of new lawless Afghanistan. Who are Ansar Dine? Who's behind them? And the other hardline Islamist movements who've struck everywhere from Mauritania to Nigeria, with a weak post-coup transitional government in place in Mali's capital, whose job is it to rein in radicals and bring in peace. Today, in the France 24 debate, we're talking about the destruction of Timbuktu, and joining us from Bamako in a short while, Fatoumata Sir Diakité, chair of the Association for the Progress and Defense of Women, Mali's former ambassador to Germany. We'll also be joined by Jeremy Keenan of the School of Oriental and African Studies at the London University. And with us here, Jean-Charles Brizard, author and consultant on terrorism. Thank you for being with us. And Emmanuel Goujon, formerly journalist, now consultant with his group Africa Global Approach, doing business intelligence. Thank you for being with us. The France 24 debate, where you can always weigh in on the conversation on Facebook. You can also get the latest on Twitter at François F24 is our handle here. Timbuktu has long captured the imagination of people in the West and also in Africa. It's, after all, one of the continent's proudest heritage sites. Founded in the 11th century by Tuareg tribes, it's dubbed the City of 333 Saints. Since March, when a demoralized Malian army staged a coup in Bamako, the entire north has been under the control of a coalition of separatists. And we've been wondering, and I'll put the question to you first, Jean-Charles Brizard, who are these people, Ansar Dine, who are in charge in Timbuktu?
Basically, what we see underway is the creation of a coalition of terror. We not only have Ansar Dine, which was formed by former members of Tuareg secular groups, who mixed with Islamist elements from not only the former GSPC, but also from today Akim, Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, and also the Mujao, which is another branch of Akim in the region. What is underway is clearly the creation of a terrorist state in that part of the world, at the borders of the European Union.
Now, the word terrorist, in this case, what does it mean exactly?
Well, it means that behind those taking credit today for the taking of northern Mali, we find most of the groups, activist groups, who led Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb in the Sahel region, taking hostages, as we know, also taking credit for terrorist actions in various countries. This is what is at stake today.
And these guys that are in Timbuktu, are they Malians? Are they what nationality are they?
Well, we have both Malians and foreigners, meaning from other countries. We have also Algerians present on the ground, foreign fighters, a lot of them. So it means, obviously, the MNLA progressively lost control of northern Mali against the Islamists.
The traditional Tuareg separatists. Right. Now, their actions have sparked worldwide condemnation. Let's just give you a sample of what's been said the past 48 hours.
These are extraordinary monuments of human creativity that stayed since the 15th century, venerated by the local people and worldwide. Our position, of course, is of rejection, of anger, of non-acceptance. We have sent many times, I personally have appealed to all parties to respect the sacred places.
Condemnation abroad, condemnation as well inside of Mali.
These assets belong to all of humanity. They're the pride of Africa and are part of the wider community, and are Timbuktu or Mali's main cultural reference points. They're extremely important symbols of identity and very certainly elements of culture and religion that are the foundations of our social and political history, our religious history, and the history of ideas.
All right, so part of Africa's memory being erased. Jeremy Keenan, we're pleased to welcome him back to the France 24 debate. He joins us from London. Thanks for being with us. Timbuktu, often called the city of 333 saints. Why is that?
Well, because it is literally that. There are a great number of saints. These are the old scholars, the religious leaders of Timbuktu, particularly over its very long period as a major center of learning in the Muslim world, particularly during the 15th and 16th centuries. So there are a great number of mausoleums, tombs, to so-called saints, and altogether they claim to be 333 of them. And these are a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
And these are relics, important relics of Sufi Islam, and still today they hold resonance with the local population.
Oh, huge. These are very much the heart and soul of Timbuktu. Absolutely. You know, the desecration of these for Timbuktu is a war crime. It is a tragedy particularly for the people and for the religion of the people.
You call it a war crime. Those were the exact words used by the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court when she weighed in on this discussion.
Well, there you are. Great minds think alike.
Buildings,
it is
which are not military objectives, is a war crime. This includes attacks against historical monuments, as well as destruction of buildings dedicated to religion.
Emmanuel Goujon, you heard the strong statement there from Fatou Bensouda. You heard the strong statements from UNESCO, which last week, at the end of last week, put Timbuktu on a list of endangered World Heritage Sites. These actions, do you think they were a bit like a red rag to a bull, in the sense that they seem to have accelerated the process of destruction of these relics?
I think also the Islamists, the Salafists who have taken over the northern part of Mali, are also trying to create an image and an identity. Remember that the Taliban in Afghanistan also, after they took over power, they destroyed the Babiyan Buddhas. So it's a part of the same process, the same strategy to create an image of destruction and to build from scratch a new Islamic society. So they show on one end their extremism, and on the other end they want to appear like someone the international community has to count with from now on. The problem is that attacking this heritage, this faith, it hurts, of course, the local population. It hurts also the economy. Timbuktu was one of the best, most important spots for tourism in Mali before the coup and before this crisis occurred. So it's also a way for them to close all the doors behind them. There will be no way back. So they will have to do to the extreme again, and they will have the population against them. And I think it's very interesting to see it also in that perspective, especially because in Mali, the Islamists, the Islam, belief has been always very moderate. It's very new that you can see some Salafist movement and some terrorist attacks and things like that in Mali. But we have to be very careful, and I think it's right that the international community acts strongly and speaks strongly against this action of the Salafists, because there is an axis nowadays in Africa from west to east, with Somalia in the east, where there is also the Al-Shabaab fighting the international community, including some African states and African soldiers.
We saw the attack on that church in Kenya.
Exactly, in Kenya, which is a spillover of the crisis also in Somalia, because Kenya is involved. And then in the south, you have these actions, these rebellions, Islamic rebellions in Mali, but you also have some movements in Niger and also in Nigeria. You remember Boko Haram, the sect of radical Islamists as well. And so if there is a link between these two or three different movements of Islamists, then the whole of Africa will be collapsing. So it's very dangerous.
Last month, the Reuters news agency went to Timbuktu, where Ansar Dine leaders explained why they were tearing down the Al Farouk monument, said to be the city's genie protector.
We found a man lying at the foot of the mausoleum. He was praying. That's why we broke the door and took it off its hinges. We think he was stupid praying at the tomb of a human being. No matter who it is, you can only pray to God. Full stop.
When you've, Jeremy Keenan, when you hear those remarks, what's your reaction?
I have a certain sense of anger, and the reason for that is because we're not talking about what you might call just die-hard Islamists. There's a big political agenda behind this. One needs to get to grips with that as well. This is not just straightforward, Islamic extremism, if you like. There is a political agenda behind it. And the leader of Ansar Dine in this area, who is actually commanding these attacks, is himself a Tuareg from the region. A lot of people see him as a traitor to both the Tuareg and to the people of the region, other than Tuareg. And a lot of people see him as being tied up to other external forces, particularly the Algerian security police. So there's a whole agenda behind him which people are suspicious of, they're aware of, they're raising these questions. So over and above the horrific acts of destruction, there is this very murky political agenda which has nothing whatsoever to do with religion.
Nothing whatsoever to do with religion. And you heard Emmanuel Goujon a minute ago draw the parallel with the destruction of the Buddhist shrines in Afghanistan. Is it like Afghanistan, what we're witnessing in northern Mali?
I think it's very dangerous to make that analogy. On face value, yes, there are these similarities and so forth. But unlike in Afghanistan, where you had dedicated, if you like, Islamist cause, the Taliban, here we have a much more murky situation. There are, if you like, political forces at play in amongst the Islamist movements, which have nothing to do with religion. They are to do with a quite different sort of politics, if you like. And to some extent, they are using these Islamist groups. And I reiterate that the actual leader of Ansar Dine is the pivotal person in this. He is the link, if you like, between Ansar Dine, which was only created in December, by the way. This is a very new little organization, a one-man band at the time. And then the man is Iyad Agrali. He is a Tuareg from Kidal. He has been long related to the Algerian secret services. He's taken a lot of money from them. He's been used in a lot of these sort of nefarious ways. And this is what is different to the Afghanistan situation, that there is this other layer of politics behind this, if you like, supporting it, promoting it, and creating, if you like, a sort of managed chaos. Although having said managed chaos, there's a big danger this could get extremely unpleasant, completely out of hand, and then we could have something approaching, if you like, when I don't like the word Afghanistan, but a completely chaotic situation and total instability throughout the region.
Jean-Charles Brizard, do you agree?
What is still similar to the Afghan situation is that we have military groups on a specific territory, uncontrolled territory, the northern part of Mali, threatening not only peace and security regionally, but also, again, they could threat tomorrow Europe. And we see a lot of similarities between these groups. We should not forget that most of these groups, active groups, Algerian groups, were formed in Afghanistan. And indeed, as Mr. Goujon said, the destruction of today mausoleums in Timbuktu is very similar in the process to what was done by the Taliban regime. We should never forget also that it is the first opportunity, one of the first opportunities for a long time that they have to create their own state. Remember, Osama bin Laden tried in the past to overthrow, for example, Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. They tried to settle in Sudan. and then he had to travel to Afghanistan. There were still Taliban there. So he was associated to the Taliban.
So this could become a haven for Islamic radicals.
Exactly.
We're pleased to be joined by Fatoumata Assir Diakité, Mali's former ambassador to Germany, to get today of the Association for the Progress and Defense of Women. How has the news been greeted in Mali's capital, Bamako, of what's been going on the last 48 hours in Timbuktu?
I think this thing was very shocking for all Malian people, and mainly people living in Timbuktu who are now living in Bamako because of this, not the rebellion, but because of this fundamentalism which is going on in Timbuktu, also in Gao. We are very, very, very shocked because Timbuktu is, there are so many people who don't know about Mali, but who know about Timbuktu. And Timbuktu is like a kind of ambassador of Mali outside at the worldwide. So when we learned that there was this kind of destruction of the mausoleum of the holy people, it was behind being just shocked, because we didn't understand why they just attacked to the very symbol of Timbuktu and even of Mali. When we said that Timbuktu is a mysterious city, this mysterious thing is from those mausoleums which have been destroyed by those people of Al-Sadin, and that has nothing to do with the religion. They did it just for provocation and not for the religion, because the religion has nothing to do with what they did yesterday and the day before in Timbuktu.
Let me ask you a question, Jeremy Keenan. Part of the treasure in Timbuktu are manuscripts, some of them very ancient. Any word on what's becoming the past 3 months of those manuscripts? Jeremy Keenan, go ahead.
Sorry. Frankly, I don't know the precise situation amongst them. The impression I have is that these are being well protected by people of the city. I would also be very surprised if the Islamists would attack and destroy them on the grounds that I don't think they could argue that they are idolatrous in the same way as the mausoleums. And also, I think it would incur so much additional wrath that their position, which is already difficult in the area, could become quite untenable. So my feeling is, and I say this more in a question of hope, that the manuscripts are being held safe and they will not, at least at this stage, become targets of Islamist destruction.
And when we come back, we'll be looking at the point that you brought up, Jeremy, in that regards the regional players in all of this, how Ansar Dine has suddenly mushroomed, and also how you solve this crisis. You're watching the France 24 debate.